and bad news. She's like, I got selected. Bad news is I got selected. Oh, nobody. If they do, stay away from them.
I was just gonna ask you, do you want me to try that? Today or not?
Do the buttons? Well, probably watch it.
Okay, we'll do it next time.
Morning, Denny.
Get on it.
Yeah, it's live right now.
We better test it.
You guys ready to go?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ron, you ready? Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and call the March 9th Commissioners meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody this morning. We've got Father Juan Ramirez, is that said right, from Our Lady of Hope Church to have prayer this morning. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support to guide and inspire us to do your will. Help us always, your sons and daughters, to engage in a mindful discussions, allow them to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our community. Fill them with your grace, Lord God, as they make decisions for the common good of our community, and continue to remind us that all that we do, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wanted to say, I was with Father Juan and a group of high school students last weekend, and we walked through this building. We walked through the building over here, and they were talking about serving the community, and the group of confirmation students. Yeah, they did a great job, but it was a good reminder about what we're here to do.
All right. Future, yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. All right. There was no highway meeting this morning, which Phil will get that in a minute, but we did have an executive meeting on 3/2/21. Grant, you want to speak on that behalf?
Yeah, we had a meeting, an executive session on March the 2nd, at the time and place advertised. And the only thing that was discussed in that meeting was the specific item that was advertised. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Grant. All right, you guys, the meeting minutes from February the 23rd. You guys had a chance to look those over? So you got any corrections or comments on it?
I did not see any.
I look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gabhart.
Second.
Second by Ron Arnold. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Third item on the agenda, we got the courthouse comprehensive plan, Honorable Judge Smith and Judge Sadecki. I'll be able to give those guys a minute. Morning, guys. Sorry.
He tells me to come over here, so I have to. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We wanted to just kind of get with you guys and kind of get the ball started rolling again. We've had, discussions before about the courthouse, and now that we've got this beautiful facility up and running. So maybe thought time to kind of get moving again and get some discussions going at least. I've got signed up, so we're going to get email notices of all commissioner and council meetings going forward, so we get notices. We got to, if you recall, we got to where I think the last involvement I really had was working with RQAW on some drawings back in April of 2019.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And in fact, they did some changes that we requested, but I didn't get those till I got them from Mr. Murray in January of 2021. So we thought, well, it's time to kind of get moving here again. I know we're talking about the window situation. You guys all know the situation with the heating and air conditioning at the courthouse and
Right.
where that's at. So, and I think Judge Sabecki's going to talk more in detail on those kinds of issues. We're concerned because obviously when we start some kind of remodeling, we have to talk to you guys about space. We're going to have to be willing to move the courts around.
Right.
Different floors, different rooms, maybe basement over here or back and forth. So we would kind of get a plan outline how we're going to do that, what
Right.
you envision. We'd like to see maybe getting some multiple proposals so we can get a handle on, I mean, we've got drawings, we've got, but we don't have a lot about what's it going to cost. Just, something where we can get some proposals, get some ballpark estimates with it from.
I mean, right here, I mean, I got feasibility studies, space studies, everything right here. I mean, we've got a lot of work already invested in this thing. I don't want to go backwards to go forward, right? So I just want to make sure, I think we need to come up with a budget first, because I think that's where last time maybe got left off. I was trying to keep it at one price just because I know what the commissioners and council at the time was talking about, which that number could be different now. So I think we need to get to a budget before we go back to design.
I don't have all those.
Yeah,
And-
and we get this up at Patty's office, we should get you a copy of this stuff too, so.
I would like to get that, and that's why I think my proposal would be that we put together a committee so that we get
Yeah.
the people that are left, the office holders.
Yep.
Over there involved, and maybe get one or more commissioners, a couple people from the council, so we can all meet and talk about those things frequently going forward, so we're all up to date.
Okay, yep,
Because obviously our goal is we gotta look at doing it right for the next 100 years to have a well-functioning court system
oh yeah,
for Daviess
I don't
County.
wanna go backwards, I mean, that's the reason, like, when we designed this building is for the future, and that's what I wanna do with the courthouse too, so.
All right, and we want to let you know, Judge Sabecki and I, that we're willing to do as much heavy lifting as you need us to do. Courthouse design, we've got access to what the Supreme Court, the Indiana Office of Court Services requires of us, security plans, that kind of thing that we have to have by administrative rule. National Center for State Courts has layouts that they can suggest that we can meet with these folks and go back through our diagrams to show what
Right.
we suggested. They have made some of the changes, so I liked that part. That's all I had.
Right.
Judge?
First off, I'd like to thank you for getting us placed on the agenda. I know I sent the letter over that outlines some of our concerns. This is the first time I've been in this room since we started this project longer ago than all of us would have wished had things gone to original plan.
Right.
I can remember distinctly going out to meetings with both commissioners and the council in the county when we were looking at various plans for this proposed building, with various architects presenting things. I appreciate wanting to pick a number and then try to stick with it, but particularly when we're looking at restoring, preserving, and improving a historic building like our courthouse, that's a difficult thing to do. Because as anyone that's remodeled an older home as opposed to building a brand new home realizes pretty quickly, there are a lot of issues that come up that you may not have been able to foresee. This project, I've been in public service now for 22 years, both as a chief deputy prosecutor, which is when Byron Overton, who was the prosecutor at that time, and I started talking with various office holders about the possibility of maybe moving out, leaving the courthouse for the courts, and having another building. We've actually received plans way back when that had all kinds of separate security entrances and separate buildings, and so we've been down this road before. I think it's important that we get the best possible building at the best possible price. And although I appreciate the work that's been done, I'm not sure that it's not better to solicit some additional eyes on the project to see what kind of design and what kind of execution might be available. Traditionally here, we've used the design bid build model. There is the design build model, which teams contractors with architects from the start. Sometimes it works out great, sometimes it doesn't work out great, but that seems to have been one of the issues, and I'm not getting into the weeds over this, and I know how hard you guys all worked on this project. But it didn't go as quickly as everyone would have hoped. And it's a concern for me as a judge running a court that doesn't get to stop when we start in on this building. We can't get a notice 2 weeks ahead of time and say, oh, we're replacing all this, or we're working on all this, and you just got to go find someplace to go. We got to have plans in place. I realize that this project is so big that there may have to be phases to it. Don't have a problem with that, but I think those phases have to be part of an overall plan before we begin. One of the concerns that I put in this letter was in regards to the windows and the replacement of those windows. And I think conceptually it's important for everyone to remember that this building's 100 years old. And a lot of the things that we're talking about, replacing windows, repairing the exterior of the building, the heating, cooling, and ventilation systems, those are all maintenance issues. If we had not built this building at all, were we all still to be working over there, all those things would have to be done anyway. So whatever the cost of those things are, I think we need to keep that separate from any design changes, just in our minds, because the numbers, you know, I don't know what the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning is going to cost. But I do know that that building was designed without air conditioning, which is why it has functional windows all over it. I know that the basement offices where the prosecutors are located would be completely unusable, some of them, in the wintertime if we were to put non-functional windows in before we change the heating system, because it gets so hot in there, 88, 89 degrees in some of those offices. We have been able to keep the courts functioning through COVID-19, and if you go over to my courts now, the windows are going to be open. They were open in the wintertime and closed when we left so that we could get more air circulation, because it is one of the major things that you have to deal with in dealing with any type of virus. Air circulation is important. It's something that we could do and something that our plans going forward need to take account of. So when I said this is a coordinated approach, that's kind of what I was talking about. The timing becomes important, and if it was up to me, would I still like operating windows? Yeah, they're more historic. But as I put in the letter, non-operating windows may be the way we need to go, and that may ultimately be the best choice. But without having a plan for the heating, cooling, and ventilation system in place, and perhaps going first, I don't think it's a good practice to start on the windows. And I appreciate all the effort that's been done. I've talked to RQAW about it, just like you guys have. And I know they have experience with those windows, and I was actually over here on the day they did the practice run on the little restroom window over there. The building was last remodeled after an arson fire, which seemed like an isolated incident, kind of like school incidents used to seem isolated until they were not, and we've had to change how we design schools. Security is a major issue. We currently have an elevator that serves juvenile offenders, adult offenders in Sheriff's Department, witnesses, jurors, and staff, all at the same point. That's not a good situation. Now, how we're going to deal with that, and that's why I'd like to ask for additional proposals as well. When we started this process so many years ago and started talking about the concept of doing this, one of the things that I was happy about was we were talking about keeping that building as a courthouse. It is not just another county building. You can see the effort and pride that went into that building 100 years ago. And it is important to me that we keep it as a functioning court building. Once again, we have to be practical though. And so I think the better idea is to solicit the design, get some estimate on the cost, and then we can start hacking away on it. That's what we did here, and I think this building is an excellent building. Regardless of whatever time it took to build, we have it here. Look around. Look how functional it is. Look what it provides for the people of Daviess County. And I'd like to see that for that building next door as well. We will have to have ongoing close communications in regards to operations of the court. Can we borrow this building, parts of this building, this room, if we need a court hearing? There are certain hearings that we cannot have by video. And there are certain hearings, particularly in criminal law and juvenile law, that have strict timelines on them. Could we use the basement? Can we set up a temporary courtroom?
I think the basement would make
I mean,
a real good idea to,
and
that space. I mean, it's unfinished, but it's really finished.
right, and from the court standpoint, I mean, I need a table and a chair and some place to put defendants and lawyers at a table and chair. I don't need a raised, I mean, I know my bench is 2 miles high, and I didn't design that, by the way.
Yeah, right, sure.
As a vertically challenged fella, I appreciate the extra height, but that kind of coordination is going to take more communication, communicating more often, because then we're going to be dealing with contractors when they can get to those things. And sometimes in the past, we've had normal time or court time communications, which, you know, get back to me in 30 days, get back to me whenever. We've had meetings called. I think the consultant, Mr. Shapker, sent an email out one time that he was calling a meeting, and led to some communication issues. And I want to make sure that we have our lines of communications open. As Judge Smith said, and as I put in the letter, we would be more than happy to see if there are any other designers, architects, who would be willing to take a look at the project and give us some additional ideas. We would be happy then to present them to both you and the council. I'm not trying to go backwards at all. I'm trying to make sure that we're going forwards in the same way that we did with this building, getting the best design possible and then at the best price possible. And that's why we asked for this meeting, and I look forward to cooperating with you and the council in developing this. But it's going to take a big lift from all of us, I think. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Well, I would just ask though that, I did reach out to RQAW. I just don't want to feel like that RQAW had their hands tied and was not able to design that building the way you guys wanted it, just because of the budgets I told them where we should be in. So I would like for RQAW to reach back out to you guys and have a good conversation with you guys and see exactly the road you guys want to go down. And then if we can't come to a consensus, then I would reach out for more proposals, if that would be all right.
Yeah, I mean, if I could throw in just a couple of suggestions here. One, obviously, we've all worked together, and that was my 7th year. I've known you, and I still can't believe Brandon's an attorney, but I can, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it's for the record. There's nothing that Brandon's hiding or anything like that. It's just I've known him since he was a kid. So obviously, you know, we're a board of commissioners that like to get things done. I mean, we've been talking about space issues for 20 years, the overhead bridge for 25 years, ambulance, et cetera, et cetera. We wanted to get this project done so that we can make room for the courthouse remodel. So that's been the plan all along. We started a couple of processes parallel. I haven't read through this. This has all been part of Michael and the committee, but they have spent, you know, hundreds and hundreds of hours on this stuff. I'm not married to any architectural firm over the other, but I think what's important is that I think we have a 2 to 3 year window where we have to have this thing done. The HVAC system is going to blow up one of these days, and now you got a mess. So I think we got a 2 to 3 year window. I think we got a $10 to $15 million budget. We built this for $8 million. Again, it was past the time, but we fired everyone for 9 months, and this thing sat here for 9 months because we weren't going to do it at a lower quality. So at the courthouse, there's going to be a ton of coordination. We still got the old National Bank sitting there that we'll have to figure out if we're not going to use it. We need to sell it, but we want to keep that space available so we have all the options on the table that you guys might need. So we're all committed about getting that courthouse redone. In the past, I think it may have felt like some decisions, some people were left out of, some steps were taken that no one was familiar with just because there was a lot of things going. And I can subscribe to that mindset as well, but you know, I know there's a lot of things that just can't wait. So I think it's important to get a committee, the fewer the better, right? Especially starting off, who can go back and see what we first have. And then if you guys feel that this is just inherently flawed and we need to bring in new architectural firms, make your case to the commissioners. And I'm not married to any one of them, but I want to give the tens of thousands of dollars or whatever we spent on this credence. But I think the time starts now. I think we have a 3 year window to get that thing totally done. And so I think the first step is to appoint the committee. I don't want to volunteer, Michael, but it sounds like you've got a little gas in enough gas in the tank to get this
started again. Yeah. Whether I stay with it the whole time, but I will definitely get the ball rolling again. And I want to work with you guys 100%. Like I said, any space that's in this building for the future to get you guys out of there during construction, I have no issue with that at all.
But I also want to make sure we bring in Commissioner Arnold's expertise in these type of situations and make sure he's got time to evaluate this and to see if there's any red flags, and then get that committee together. And then just like the annex, we had update meetings every commissioner's meeting the entire time. Even when things were going bad, we had update meetings every commissioner's meeting. That's imperative because you gotta work together, right?
The reason I suggested the committee is working.
But I just want to speak, can I speak to that behalf real quick? You know, I had you guys in every meeting that I ever had. The only meeting I didn't ask you guys to be at was, I was gonna have an executive meeting with the commissioners and council, just to go over budget numbers, right? I figured that was the only one. That was the only meeting that you guys, I didn't invite to, and I actually done that on purpose, because I wanted to get their flavor of where the budget should have been at, right? Without any outside. But I know the budget's gonna grow beyond what the number that we talked about earlier, just between the council and commissioners at the time. I'm saying it's probably gonna double. So that's the reason I want you guys to reach back out with RQW, and I'm just giving an unlimited budget and design what you guys want, then we'll see where that number's at, and then we'll try to get that number where we could actually afford it, okay?
To be honest, Mike, I am. I had no idea they had a budget. Did you think, it was like listening to what Judge and I,
Yeah.
they made the last change at April meeting. I didn't get it.
Yeah. We never want that last meeting we had, I've not had any more communications about that building at all, so that's been going on 2 years now, so.
I don't mind talking to them again.
Yeah.
But I've got their last designs. I told them 5 times, cost is not. I want to make sure they, honestly, listening to the judges on.
But if we,
Well, but on those notes, that's where we gotta talk collectively too. We gotta get in your guys' head, because in my mind, I'm trying to get all the offices into 2 buildings so I can get the maintenance cut off. And then if I got folks who don't want that, I need to know that up front so that we can figure that out.
Well,
'cause-
and I guess I'll address a little bit of that. We built this building because it was so crowded over there. If all we do is keep our courts the same size, and I think the prosecutor's office has already expanded a little bit, and the clerk stays where they are, we're not gaining anything for the courts. And particularly, I mean, I've read in the newspaper that there are comments that we're gonna put community corrections in there, that we're gonna put CASA in there, that we're gonna put adult protective services in there. There's not enough room. I'm gonna tell you right now, in my courtroom, walk in there and walk in where the public is supposed to sit. You can barely get a healthy person through the pews, through the rows there, because they are so close together. They don't meet any kind of recommended space.
I don't disagree, but for the sake of time, I think this is one of the reasons we need this committee together.
We do.
I just want to make sure we go into this with the right mindset. I want to go into this with the mindset that theoretically, in a magical world, what would be the ideal situation? And then work through that, and then when it becomes impractical, but too often we look at something and we say, well, this can't be possible, and then that kills it. So what I want to do is start off with theoretically, what would we want if money was no option, and then start tearing it apart and say, well, this is why CASA needs to be here and community corrections needs to be over here. And it may be impractical, but let's prove it and let's just work together. I think we need to get the committee started. The committee members can kind of vet some of this stuff out on their own. I'm not trying to push it off, but I just think it's better that the committee can focus on it. And I don't know if we need to appoint the committee here today, if we need to think about it. I'm ready, more of a ready, fire, aim type of guy, and I think we need to get this thing moving.
Well, and I agree with you in regards to let's see what's out there and let's see what we'd like to do and cut it down. But that's also why I would like to see whether there's anyone else that would want to make a proposal.
Sure.
I don't know what kind of money you guys have spent on all these preliminary studies. I know we had various architects coming in and interviewing us and talking and showing us plans, and I got a stack of plans going back 20 years over there. But particularly when we're talking about all these security issues, particularly when we're talking about design of the court space itself and those kinds of things, I don't see what it would hurt now, particularly when we're talking about getting a committee together to go forward. And I don't know that there's any other architects that would be interested. We had originally tried to solicit some other
I'm not
architects
saying it
and
would hurt
positions.
anything, but what I'm not hearing is, why is this bad? And that's what I would like to hear. This may be terrible. I don't know, but it's more of a, hey, we've been left out. These guys have created their own structure. Let's just start from scratch. Well, why is this bad?
I guess my answer to that would take up way too much time, but I haven't seen all that stuff. But I guess my question would be is, why wouldn't we want to get more ideas?
Because the right idea could be already in here. And in the private sector, if I spend $100,000, I want to make sure I don't have to re-spend it. Now, if I need to respend it, I will, but then I'm better equipped with that second architect to say, okay, here's what I don't want, because I've already
But-
paid for that.
But, okay, I don't have any idea what you've paid for what RQAW has done over there. I have no idea what they paid on this building when we went to look at all the different options. I don't know what anybody else would charge to come down and do a study and how far they would go. But it still doesn't make sense to me to not see whether or not there are people that would be willing to come down and make a proposal and show at least preliminary designs on their own nickel.
I don't disagree, and I think that's be something the committee can evaluate and discuss and vet out. And if there are people who will give some free scenarios, then yeah, that I don't. All options are on the table. I'm not married to any one, right? So,
Right.
but I think for the sake of time, we get the committee started, and then the committee can update us. And I would say perhaps Michael and the judges, you guys get together and determine who needs to be on that committee.
Last time it was Dan, the 2 judges, and myself. So if we need anybody else on that.
Is that
on
appropriate?
Did we have a council member on there?
We probably ought to get a council member on there.
I can't remember back.
We can reach out to Tony Dungeon, he's the
Okay.
president. and-
Ron, what are your thoughts here?
Well,
Yeah.
I've got a question for our legal counsel. What can you tell me about the Judicial Conference Board of Directors that apparently approve these minimum standards? Is this law? Is this recommendations? Is this a mandate?
That's what I was telling you about.
Uh-huh. Right, but everything in here, and again, there's some pretty good stuff in there that I never thought about. But are we mandated to do all this, or is it,
We have an administrative rule,
well,
they let us slide a little bit because we told them. Have a conference.
well, but I guess my question is, again, is that something we are mandated to do by law? Do we have to do it? Because there's a lot of expense in here, and then you get down to practicality. So it's like I'm not sure what the Judicial Conference Board of Directors, how much authority they have over us telling us how much we have to spend.
Board of Directors, this conference, have administrative.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but
So,
does this rule trump our wishes on what we want to do? In other words, can they come
Here,
in and
let-
say,
let-
you have to spend this?
maybe I could address this. I don't know, Grant, he addressed the question to you. I don't know if you'd like to answer.
It would be a floor, from what I can tell, as to minimum standards that we have to
Well,
follow over there.
Here, we don't like to throw the mandate word around because it's a word of art, right? Judges can mandate certain things to be done. That's an order to the council and the commissioners, both. The way I see this, these are definitely goals. I think that the Supreme Court has always been somewhat flexible with historic buildings because you do have limits. In other words, the ideal recommendation for new court construction has separate circulation systems for court employees, jurors, the public, and defendants. It is impossible to do that in a courthouse built like that.
Right.
In other words, the recommendation is once the employees have gone through their security check and they get into their offices, they circulate through the whole building without coming into contact with the public other than at one point of contact, kind of like what we have here. Then a separate way for everybody else to get around in there. Well, there's not the room or the space to do that. So when you say is it mandated, I think this is a direction of what they would approve on a mandate. But I also think that as a practical matter, and they have always worked with historical buildings. They've done extensive renovations on Allen County's courthouse and don't require every bit of that. But I've said this forever, and I know, you're new here. Just because I'm not concerned personally with particular security recommendations, you know, my dad was a school superintendent here. I've been threatened to get beat up since we moved here in 1970. And for the most part.
I'm sorry about
Yeah.
that, by the way.
And for the most part. and
Are you
for-
blaming your dad for that, or is it?
And for the
I
most
apologize
and
for
for
that.
the most part, that didn't get done then, and it hasn't got done now either. So, but that doesn't mean that we don't need security issues, and we all know those things. So, to answer your question, are you mandated to do it? If we signed an order of mandate and it was approved and it got done, yes. But that's not why I put that on here, because we don't throw that word around. We've always been able to work with everybody to get things done. But the security issues are real.
It is real, yeah.
Portland's courthouse was under siege for 60 days this summer. Set on fire, 10 U.S. Marshals hospitalized. It's not an idle thing to be concerned with. And as I said when we started, you know, this building was burned down because of an arson. We've had break-ins recently to steal things there. So there's a lot of things going on. But if you're asking, are we going to demand that every one of those issues go through on this building? No, I'm not. I'm sure Judge Smith's not. So if we don't, I think we can get all that past the Supreme Court.
What would happen is public corporate doesn't have work through clients. It is for clients with something they.
Right. And also, I think if, you know, I mean, if, like I said, if numbers ain't, we can get a higher number, I mean, we could put an addition on the north side of that building, move all your courts over there, then you could make all those things compliant in a new construction a lot easier than you could in the existing building.
I was gonna say, what little I know about construction, if we had to follow all these to a T, I don't think there's enough money in Daviess County to accomplish that, especially in that building. But if they're flexible, knowing that it is a historic building, that we wanna maintain it.
I think there are
another
things
issue.
that we could do that would be substantially in compliance with all of those things. Are we gonna have completely separate flow? No, but we can separate out prisoners from witnesses and the public from juries. You know, our jury, just by putting a jury room right next to the courtroom is gonna take care of that issue, which we don't have now.
Could we, to get this process moving, I mean, could we go ahead and make the recommendation for this committee today, ask for, you know, updates for at each commissioner's meetings, and sometimes there won't be an update, which is fine, but have a standing line item on our agenda going forward. Set the committee up today, and then it'll be on your guys' time frame, because, I mean, the clock's ticking. I think we got 3 years. This thing could be $15, $20 million. Who knows? But we gotta get the council engaged. Maybe it breaks down in phases, whatever. But I think the committee, it'll be the committee's job to bring those recommendations to the Board of Commissioners. We'll have to sign off on it, and the council will have to sign off on it, and then we can get this thing rolling.
Forward, yeah.
Well,
So-
my opinion would be, we're waiting on a study from Byron Sanders on this building and how it all came about. And I would prefer that we wait till that comes back so we can say, okay, because he's supposedly an expert on how to set up these projects. I don't have a problem with the architect. I've known them forever. They've never done any work for what I've done. But I do feel that we need a third party to come in and organize this thing. And that would give you what I think you want as far as variation on the architect. In other words, they would be, whether it's a design build or what. But I think we need somebody to coordinate the meetings, to talk to both parties, make sure everybody's on the same page, and to move this thing forward. And I think you'll save money at the end of the day if you do it that way.
I think we also got it, on the West Boggs Park meeting with Phil, there's a different way we can go about this project too, to save us some money. We actually get a developer to build the building for us. There's no change orders, anything, it all falls back on the developer, and the county's
Well, in all those scenarios, you're gonna need this committee,
Yeah.
this think tank, so I don't care when you all meet or what you all do, I just wanna make sure we get something productive out of this meeting, and I'd recommend we move forward with getting this committee together. The Byron Sanders proposal is gonna be parallel, it should be done in 30, 60 days, so, I mean, we're not gonna be breaking ground, anytime.
And I did ask Grant to hold up on the,
And we won't be signing any contracts. I mean, I don't think this thing, if we see
No.
it's getting way ahead of the Byron Sanders, then we can pull the reins back and make sure we get Byron's input first before we make any concrete decisions. But I think the committee members you mentioned seem to be logical.
Is it possible for two commissioners to serve on the committee?
can't meet at the same time.
If you put a committee together in this group, it'll be public anyways unless you have it as an executive session. So if you wanted more than one,
Just have to
you
advertise
could.
every time though.
Yeah.
I also did reach out to Grant the other day, and I did put the reins on going up a bit on the windows. We get a better clarification how we want to move forward, so. Okay. But, I'll have RQW reach out to you guys. I just want them to meet with you guys before just you two, go over a few things, and then we can move forward with the committee and get everything figured out. So hopefully they get that done. Maybe next week you guys got a little time to talk with them. And so is that fine with the committee? Myself, Ron, try to call Tony, see if he wants to do it. If not, we'll get somebody else on the council and then do Dan and Janison. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you guys for your time. Thanks. All right, Phil, Highway Department. Morning. Good morning.
30 seconds or less.
Just need a motion to approve everything I've got here, and I'll move on.
Move on.
I don't know when's the last time we rejected something you've said. Maybe today's the day.
So moved.
No to everything.
Mercy. As Michael mentioned, we had no highway meeting this morning, and I didn't bring the blank sheet, but I will email you one, Patty, with the date and everything on it, that we had no meeting. I got 2 LPA vouchers for 900 East. The project goes to bid next week, which is good news. Should know something by the end of the month, cost. Probably be looking for approval to write a check to, they usually want those within a week of the bid approval, so. Gross claim amount on this is for preliminary engineering for phase 4. Gross amount $4,565, 80% being reimbursable at $3,652. Work accomplished, this phase, we're finalizing the roadway design, we're at 99.7% complete. And the bridge design is final, we're 100% complete on it. And then the second voucher is for right-of-way services. And we're winding that down as well. Should be coming to a close. We're gonna come in under budget on that. We're only showing 71.22% complete, which is the money total on that. Gross amount is $7,637.72, 80% reimbursable at $6,110.18. Present those both to the board for single signature.
Look at those, Nathan. All right, I got 2 claim vouchers here, LPA claim vouchers, for the 900 East project. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gabhart,
Second.
second by Ron Auld. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Just a quick update on projects. We're working currently towards replacing some culvert pipes. The 2 multi-plate arch structures I brought up to you guys earlier have both came in. We've got one of those assembled. Hopefully get it replaced here in the next couple of weeks. It's out on 300 South, just west of Troy Road. Second one, if you recall, was out on 100 West, Bevansport Road, out near 400 North. It's not assembled yet, but they'll be working on that. We're replacing a couple of culverts today that we had freeze and thaw. The expansion and contraction, if we've got any culverts that have bottoms that are close to going out, they'll go ahead and suck a hole and rear their ugly head. So we're replacing a couple of those this week. Worked out on a bridge on 300 West yesterday, getting prepared for the detour route for when we close the bridge on Clark Road at the beginning of next month. That's all I had, unless you guys got something for me.
You got your contract here.
So that's next, the Lockmuller Group contract for Bridge 155. This includes bridge and road design, survey, geotechnical, engineering, project management, railroad coordination, utility coordination, and construction phase services for the replacement of Bridge 155 over CSX in Montgomery. The not-to-exceed number is $260,575. That'll be paid for from the Cume Bridge Fund. Last 5 digits, 61550. And Montgomery will be reimbursing us for 50% of this agreement per the interlocal agreement that we had signed and dated August 25th of 2020. And I present that to the board for.
How many you need? How many copies do you need? Just two, okay.
So we're still looking at 2022 as the construction year?
That's correct.
Okay, and it's similar to Washington, like March through November?
Yes, that's correct. We'll want to apply for the community crossings grant funding on the construction.
Portion of the bridge, yeah. Okay.
Okay, for 155?
We still have not heard anything from our application for this spring, by the way. I don't know. I emailed yesterday and asked, and they didn't have any timeline on it yet announced.
All right, I got a contract here before me from the Highway Department for Bridge 155, construction in the amount of $260,575. Will be coming out of Cume Bridge Fund 1135-0532-61550. So looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Nathan Gabhart,
Second.
second by Ron Arnold. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The load limit. Had a few people that were breaking the load limit. I reached out to Gary. Hopefully we got that curtailed, but it's been removed now. The good Lord provided us with a nice heavy rain and some good sunshine, so it was only necessary to keep the load limit on for about 1 week, which is always a good thing for us. Yeah. We want to thank everybody for participating with our permits and keeping the loads down to the haul roads only. We also asked, when we lifted it last week, that they would try to continue to run direct routes with the feed and milk routes and things like that that are exempt from the load limit, but it can definitely impact us if they want to cut cross-country across the county. So asking folks to use direct routes to and from the state highways, that's a big deal for us, and we appreciate that. This is not on the agenda, I just got this morning, but I'd ask you about uniform services agreement, which we signed at the last meeting. I'm asking for permission to sign the agreement with Republic Services on our trash service, the highway department. Our fees have not been raised for the last 4 years. They sent us a increase actually this morning. Janice got on board and got the new agreement. But our trash service would go from $59.38 a month to $64.75 a month. This is an auto-renewing agreement, which what I'll do, I'll go ahead and send a termination letter with the agreement back to them right away, terminating at the end of the 3 years, so we don't.
Sometimes they've got a time frame, but
Yeah,
I know sheriffs had some issues with different providers. I don't know if
let me back up on.
Mhm.
We'll reach out to Velpin for a second quote on this
See
thing.
where they're at,
Yep.
If I check, they have the name of the company.
KRV or?
There's one down there my wife's got one out, they're down there by, on 69. I remember the name of the company, but they, pretty cheap rate too, and they're up here in Washington. I'll get that name for you too, just maybe get a few prices.
Something else. Oh, I think Lockmuller will be reaching out to you, the railroad coordination meetings. So, I want to get the ball rolling on this bridge. That's all I have unless you guys.
When we closed the courthouse and the landfill, the employees were paid for that day, correct?
I think
Yes.
When we closed it? Well, I would like the commissioners to consider that we do the same for the county highway workers. Allow Phil to give them a flex day off.
I don't have any issue doing that. I know we've done it in the past.
Well, I don't have an issue with that, but then, you know, the jail, you know, just look at the entire family here, and the jail has to work, because that's their purpose. And highway has to clean the roads, because I don't have anything against it. To me, I'm just like, where do we?
Well, I think with the jail, you have a situation to where they're on duty those times. And with highway department, they worked overtime and it was not a normal scheduled time. But I just think you reward them. If Gary wanted to do the same thing with his employees, I'd really have no issue with that if they were out fighting it like our county highway employees were.
Ron, I think there is already in policy something that addresses that. I can get a copy of that to you. There's for inclement weather or emergency situations, I think they do get their pay and then they get additional comp time.
That'd be.
That,
I have no problem with them with giving them some extra comp, but it's going to be make sure it's fair.
Okay. Well, my conversation with Phil, we thought it needed to be approved by us, but you're telling me it
I
doesn't?
think there's already a policy in place on that. I'll double check on that. I think I might have it on my desk as far as the inclement weather, emergency situation, and how we handle some of those issues. But it was my understanding, and Gary and I talked about this, maybe Phil and I didn't, but I believe that when the commissioners close the courthouse, with the exceptions of those emergency departments, then they do receive their pay. They are working, so they get additional benefits, and I think comp time, and we can read the small print on that, but I believe that's already been addressed, and it may be already in policy.
Okay, well, if you would, coordinate that with Phil, so he
Sure.
can make sure that his employees are aware of that.
I believe that's been addressed in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, good thing is it's the first time in my 7 years as commissioner that this is,
Right.
we closed the courthouse, so clarify that, if we need to get them back paid or whatever, let's get them synced up as soon as we can.
It'd be comp time, I'm assuming, is what,
Okay.
comp day.
Right, and I believe that that payroll's been processed in my office, so we can review what you've turned in, and if there needs to be adjustments, we can certainly do that. But if it is a comp issue, then that's easy to remedy, and so it's no issue. So I'll get those documents to you as commissioners and to Phil, and I think Gary's already got it, so.
Yeah, I'm learning something here. I didn't know that was in the policy.
I'm
the city
not
employees are
100%
gonna
sure,
want
but
it.
I believe it is.
Which they deserve it. So,
Same thing.
yeah, good.
Paid them and then they got
Comp time too. Oh, that's cool.
time they was out.
Yeah, it'd be great for it all to match. So yeah, it just needs to be fair. All right, awesome.
Just let me know. If not, I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. We've got a Board of Health resignation letter and appointment here. We've got a resignation letter here from Mark Arnold. And then the Health Board has asked for Christopher Banks to be appointed. You guys have any comments on that?
No concerns here.
If not, I'd like to hear a motion to ask for Mark Arnold's resignation.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gavhart,
Second.
second by Ron Arnold. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd also like to get a motion to appoint Christopher Banks, RN, as the new board appointment.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gavhart,
Second.
second by Ron Arnold. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Kathy, did you have anything this morning, or are you later on down here? Yep. Okay.
I just want you to know every day we thank God.
Okay. Have that parking lot there, you're getting vehicles in and out right there at your door, probably helps a bunch too, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Vehicles, okay. All right, thank you very much. All right, where technology happens, WTH, Danny Eaton. Morning, sir.
Ron, they used to not spell out WTH, and you just had to use your imagination. Especially with Denny, he could go a lot of different directions.
They asked me what it stood for in the meeting, and I told them, and they, so now they decided that they would spell it out for you. I really didn't know it was on the agenda till I seen my name on the board when I came in, but I remember we got a letter from WTH, and what it is, it's a contract that you gentlemen have signed that any time that an outside company that needs more information on our mapping system, they will do it, and they charge them $750, and then they reimburse. They give the county $250 of that back. And I believe that's what
I got one here,
information
looks like
that you
one
had
for
there.
250, and then the other one looks like it was 750, it might have been more than one company. One-time delivery of map layers for $752, so you got two of them on there, looks like
For two of
$1,000
them.
total, yeah.
So it would be $500 to us. They normally charge $750 to each corporation. And they retain $500.
Okay, that's what it is, 750.
Okay.
750. Yeah. All right.
That's probably just an information sheet, I believe, for you to let you know what's going on.
Who's using what? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, you guys have anything for Denny on this, WTH? Looking for a motion to approve the agreement here.
So moved, sorry.
Got a motion by
Sorry to
David.
jump the gun down here.
You're all right. Second by Ron Arnold, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Denny.
Thank you.
You're up again, Denny.
Oh, I didn't sign that back when you got, there's no one to sign there too.
This is just that petition, that the,
Cancellation.
Cancellation of the taxes, yeah.
it's
That's
the
for your
auditor, the,
Yeah. I don't wanna pay, but the county doesn't need to pay taxes, do they?
It's kind of like mute. I mean, you pay it, you get it back. So, yeah, it's on the property that the county commissioners purchased over here on the corner, and the past taxes that were due on it. This is just a matter of procedure that the auditor, the treasurer, and myself sign and then recommend to you as a board to cancel the
Cancel.
taxes due on this property.
Yeah.
So we've kind of reviewed this process, and we kind of know why this is happening. It's in the closing documents, and we have met with closing agents, and we've rectified this for the future. It's just the issue when it's a government entity and those taxes, and when they prorate it, and how we do that at closing.
Right.
So it's just a cleanup. The county's not going to write a check to themselves on the
Yeah.
taxes, but we have to follow this guideline, and the three of us, Jamie and Danny and I, we're all in agreement. And we just bring it before you to just clean up that record, because otherwise it incurs penalties and it's just ongoing. We just need to clean it up.
Clean it up, yeah.
To give you a little past history on this, this just occurred back in July of 19. They changed the law. Used to in the past, we would sign it, we'd have to submit it to the DLGF to get their approval, and then it came off, but that's why it's being brought to you now.
Yeah.
As a Board of Commissioners.
So I think you have that letter
Yeah.
stating
Did
the
you
code
guys read that?
site, and then you have the property information. I don't know if there's anything else you needed.
It was very proper in the corner down here, right?
It is,
Yeah.
yes. And Jamie is out today, or else she would have been here with us too, but.
I think,
Should we take these two word for it, or should we verify them?
I think I'd put it to a vote, you know, whether.
The innocent looking ones are the ones you gotta worry
worry
about.
about it.
We backed it up with the code.
Alright,
I
sounds
don't have
good.
any issue. You guys have any
No.
comments on it? If not, I look for a motion to approve the cancellation of property taxes.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Nathan Gabhart, second by Ron Arnold, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Luis, how are you doing this morning? Yeah.
Thanks, Luis.
The main reason that I'm coming is we are performing some focus groups throughout the state, especially on 5 counties. The audience is going to be Spanish-speaking folks. We're trying to make a needs assessment in terms of the needs that they have for educational programs, especially related to financial literacy. And what we're hoping is to be able to use this room. It's going to be one day, 2 sessions during the day. But since we have to submit this for an institutional review board, one of the protocols is that any entity that we are using, especially if we are using this building or this room, we need to seek the collaboration of the entity that managed that. So that's the reason that you had that letter over there. I mean, which is basically, we're gonna have 2 sessions, about 90 minutes each. One probably about midday, the other one in the evening. Probably about 8 to 10 people at a time. And it's just gonna be just a conversation.
Right.
So there's no probing or cutting anybody or anything like that, just because of the fact that it's for a research, it's just conversation.
Right.
But we needed to have that collaboration. It's just protocol that they're required for the.
Yeah, I don't have any
Process.
issue using this room at all. You guys have anything on that?
No, no.
Yeah. Do you have a key to this room? If not, you'll
Well,
have
I got, but it doesn't work anyway.
to, you have to get a key fob, or have Dale just switch your key fob so you can use that door,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
I'll take care of that.
And I know we haven't decided on a date yet, and I mentioned to Patty that as soon we had that settled, I'll check with her to make sure that date is gonna work for us, or work for them, if nothing else is happening on that day, so.
Okay,
And also, if you could, after the meeting, if you can step into our office, we'll really appreciate it.
okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Luis. All right, look for a motion to approve the letter of cooperation for Davis County Government Center and Commissioners Chamber with the Purdue Extension.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gabhart,
Second.
second by Ron Arnold, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Michael,
Yeah,
this is a good time for me to just remind everyone, or ask you to help remind everyone, that if they're going to use this room, be sure and put it on the calendar. through my office in that way if there's any questions. So if commissioners grant permission, just have them contact me to
Okay.
let me know to put that on there.
Right.
We can reserve the room appropriately.
Yeah, so, she's got it on there, so
Yeah.
that's good. Do I need to sign this, or is this just? Okay. Yep, job title and everything. All right, Gary Allison, you got the incarcerated offenders provider agreement. Morning.
That came to Nathan in November. I don't know how it didn't get, it didn't come to me. I talked with Kent Johnson down in Pike County. Same thing happened to him. So I talked to him about maybe letting the sheriffs know in the loop on that
Yeah.
as well, because I knew what it was as soon as I looked at it, but
I never received anything. Yeah, I mean, I get 100 emails a day.
I know,
so
yeah.
Yeah, if I don't recognize a lot of things,
Pretty
goes into the
responsive,
file.
especially the Medicaid one. We were at the table in Indianapolis when they were putting that one together, so.
Right, yeah. So, and I did not know that it expired and needed to be renewed. So we wasn't looking for it. We got it on our calendar to be looking for it now in 23.
Okay.
December, I guess, when it comes up.
I don't know if Congress did something in this COVID bill that might affect that. Sure, that'll come down the pike in
Yeah.
6 months. Yep, you had some questions on it?
That's been answered.
Okay,
Yeah. No, I just want to know how it, it fell through the cracks, make sure it doesn't happen again.
yeah.
That has been
It's,
answered.
it's like, if an inmate, I take an inmate to the hospital and they get admitted, Medicaid will pick that up rather than us picking that up. Then, we have a navigator that we have to sign everybody up for Medicaid as they leave. And then they can purchase that insurance for like $1 a month for a year. It's to help them get back on the right track. Healthy Indiana Plan, HIP, Medicaid. But, some take advantage of it, of course.
Understood.
But I appreciate you getting it signed
Yeah.
before. I think, if I read in there correctly, it was retrograded to December. But with I tell my people to only arrest healthy people, but they don't. And they only find the sick ones, it seems like, to bring in. So,
All right.
I don't have the best healthy population
Okay.
always fighting some disease somewhere. All righty.
Good, appreciate it, Gary.
Thanks.
All right, I'll look for a motion to approve the incarcerated offenders provider agreement.
So moved.
Had a motion by Nathan Gabhart,
Second.
second by Ron Arnold, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we got the Baker Tilly Consulting Services budgets.
Commissioners, that's the auditor's office in regards to the budget proposal. This is Paige, who worked with us last year as a consultant on our process in conjunction with the council. So we're asking for that again. Contract summary sheet shows that it's as needed up to $14,000. That's paid out of your consultant line in your budget, as council doesn't have a budget, so it's budget consulting services.
Services, yeah.
He was a great help last year to us. reviewing some of the notices from the state. If you recall, the year before that there was concern on our part with some oversight on an error that was put in that could have been very costly to the county, but luckily it wasn't. So we're just trying to be proactive and have another set of eyes to review some of those very important
Right.
critical factors being keyed in.
All right, anybody have any questions on this consulting contract services? If not, look for a motion to approve contract for Baker Tilly in the amount of up to $14,000 in line item 1000-31600.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gabhart,
Second.
second by Ron Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, next on the agenda, Tom McCracken, can you come up to the podium, sir?
Morning, Tom.
You missing coming in here every second and fourth Tuesday? Are you missing coming in here every second and fourth Tuesday?
Yeah, no kidding. Since you didn't get that courthouse remodeled, I guess we'll take care of it for you.
So, Tom, U.S. Census has reached out to you. You've done a ton of work on that job, and they've got a award here for you and a T-shirt, and I wanted to present that with you. And you got a letter here from the Department of Commerce too for Economic and Statistics Administrations for U.S. Census. So I want to thank you for all the work you've done on that, and I appreciate it. And I know you spent a ton of time on that. And so you could come around here. We'll get a picture and hand this to you. Good job. There, sir. All right.
Smile.
Smile, can't see it.
Just kidding.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thanks again, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Michael, I have a couple of things that weren't on the agenda to run by.
We got the county credit card policy request. Patty?
That, we may table that. This has to do with IT services and the Office 365 that we're trying to get established.
Right.
Dale notified me of a need that we may need to address. If we do, we'll have to amend the policy to allow those additional credit cards for that Office 365 for the council and commissioners on your new
iPads.
pads, yes.
Yeah.
So, working with Matt Meredith, he thinks that there may be an option that we don't have to do it that way. So I'll just table that today,
Okay.
just
Oh,
give you a heads
Dale
up.
reached out to me and asked me about it, and I said the same thing. There's got to be a way to get that tied to one account somehow.
Well, we're working with GAB on our options of how we can manage that as far as the individuality and the billing. So I'll just table that for today, if
Okay.
I can.
Yep.
But the other one that I needed to discuss with you was an issue that we're having with AT&T on a couple of phone lines. We received a bill that was in arrears, and so we've been working with AT&T to try to locate the information on, it's two particular phone lines. No one knows what those phone lines are. We've tried to work with them. I've worked with the sheriff's department, I've worked with the maintenance department, I've worked with IT. We've called that number. Our concern was obviously that we didn't want to just do a disconnect until we could identify it. and AT&T is not being very helpful to us. We can do a locate, and they can locate it into the building, and then perhaps we can trace it through. That's about $80 just for them to show up to do that. We're in about over $2,000 in back payment on those 2 lines because it went out of contract. As you're familiar with, we've had this issue with the Sheriff's Department. It's out of contract and then the price jumps. So these lines are costing us $443 a month, a single line, a single phone. So I did speak with Michael about it. I did go ahead on the authority of my office, and we did disconnect those 2 lines to stop the billing. And we're still working with AT&T to try to determine what those lines were. So just as a general public notice, we have disconnected 2 lines. We are following up on that to try to determine what those lines were, if they're still needed. If they are, then we'll go back through some kind of process to get them under contract with AT&T or source them.
We'll source them out back to, I mean, we're.
Right, and that would go back to
RTC.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would go back to you, but we just need to determine where these
Where
2
they
phone
are,
lines
yeah.
are. And I talked in depth with AT&T to determine why something can go out of contract and us not know it. And the issue is that they do put that on the bills. They give you 2 notices that's included on your monthly billing. But the issue is we are not receiving that monthly bill. So there's several issues that we're addressing, but I just wanted to bring you up to speed that I did disconnect those 2 lines. We are trying to follow through on the details of it.
What's your guys' pleasure on paying AT&T to come locate those lines and figure out exactly where to go?
I mean, for $80 versus $450 a month, I mean, I think that's reasonable, but if we got them disconnected and there's no more
No more.
payment and no one's saying anything internally,
Well, the only thing, there is one other issue that could be, and it could be like a fire alarm system.
fire
too.
alarm, yeah, so for $80, I'd have them come in and
Yeah.
check it out.
Because we did shut it off it's probably been a week, right, Patty?
It was just this last week, yes, when
Yeah, so, I mean, nobody's said anything about their phone being
Yeah,
down.
it could be
So it could be a mechanical system. It could be even just be a sensor on something.
we have
So,
no
but-
idea what it is.
Yeah, nobody has an idea. So
Have 'em come
I
in.
would like to just
Yeah.
have them come and locate it, and we know exactly where it goes. And then if it's something that we actually need, then we can get RTC out here to hitch it back up. Or Dale.
You said they put notice on the bills, but you don't receive those bills?
Well, that's the issue that I am also following up with them is, and I understand their dilemma that they mail out the bills, but we're saying that we're not getting them. And we've had that issue from our office as well, that we've mailed things and things are not being received. So I don't discount that. I don't know the workaround, but for several months, the bills were not being received, and then we do get the late notice bill. So I'm not sure how that works, but we've changed the mailing address, we've double checked that, and we still weren't getting the monthly bill on these particular lines. So I'm working with about 3 or 4 different people with AT&T presently to try to resolve the issues.
There's a good reason we switched to RTC. Well, the frustrations I get, like Patty, she's worked on this for a week or more and still has no answer to why or where or who or how. And that's the problem deal with AT&T. It's been like that way ever since I've ever dealt with them.
Dollars and Pepper's like, yeah, but we paid all that back. I said, yeah, but we have to get it done.
We had to pay for it up front, yeah.
And don't like to look bad.
So our account rep is Jeff Jordan. I have his number. When I asked him if he could run an audit on all of our accounts, he's not able, if I give him a specific line item, he can do that, but he doesn't have anything, from what I'm told, that he can run to see as our account executive, everything that he handles for us. He doesn't have that capability, is what he's telling me. So we're running an internal audit, trying to see any of the bills that we pay through AT&T to make sure that we can identify who they are and to just touch base with them to make sure that, you know, we can avoid situations like this. You know, my issue, like Gary said, if there's a bill and there's a small print line that's telling you that you're gonna be out of contract and the price is gonna raise, it's a matter of education and accountability, but we don't know who that is. We can't determine a department. We
That should
can't
be on top of the
determine.
letterhead, not on, in fine print at the bottom of the page.
Right, so it is ongoing dialogue with AT&T, and I hope to report something back. But the main thing is I didn't know if you wanted to spend extra money to have those locates done.
I think we probably need to, just so we're better safe than sorry in case it is hooked to some mechanical system that we need.
I'll contact
Or
him
there'd be,
today.
I mean, it could be an elevator over there, it could be, I mean, it could be anything, right?
Yeah, Scott didn't think that it was anything to do with any critical
Yeah.
public safety issues, but
Spend $80 from show up and then however long they're spend there to trace that line down, and probably a couple $100 probably.
that will only trace it to the building. And they will, the way I understood it, they'll red tag it, and then Scott will have to trace it from
Well, you
there.
have to trace it to the, I think they'll take it right to the junction box, right?
Yes, to the box.
Yeah, then we'll have to
And then
find
from
it down
there, hopefully we can trace the wire to wherever the phone is or the service is supposed to be.
As long as we get the mechanical systems out of the way, so we know our fire's hooked up and everything like that, I'm really not worried about it, because if it's not that, then obviously we didn't need the phone line, because nobody's called about it yet.
All right, I will contact them today to do that locate.
Okay. I'm back up here a minute, so, I look to table county credit card policy request for, till next meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gabhart.
Second.
Second by Ron Arnold, all in favor?
Aye.
And then back to AT&T, let Patty pay AT&T the $80 service fee, then whatever per hour rate it is to have the line, the two lines located to the, I guess, the distribution box in the courthouse.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gabhart,
Second.
second by Ron Arnold, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Anybody else in the audience have anything for us today? If not, look for a motion to pay payroll, pay claims, and adjournment.
So moved.
Got a motion by Nathan Gabhart,
Second.
second by Ron Arnold, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.